An episode of This One Time in Kankakee from the WVLI Podcast Network will start right after this. Support for This One Time in Kankakee comes from Raven Spring Media, where method, media, and mindfulness create impact. From video production, photography, animation, and team building, Raven Spring Media creates compelling content that captures your brand's unique story in a strategic way. With over 20 years of visual storytelling experience, Raven Spring Media brings together creative expertise and a fresh perspective to every project they undertake. Begin your story today at ravenspringmedia.com. Support for This One Time in Kankakee comes from the Kankakee Area YMCA. The Kankakee Area YMCA is more than just a gym. It's a movement of thousands of people making positive changes in their lives and their community. The YMCA is Kankakee's premier provider of family health and wellness. Become a Y member today at their location on Kennedy Drive in Kankakee or at k3ymca.org. For youth development, for healthy living, for social responsibility. The Kankakee Area YMCA. This one time in Kankakee, the county courthouse burned to the ground. Welcome to This One Time in Kankakee from the WVLI Podcast Network. I'm Jake Lamore. It was a Saturday morning, October 5th, 1872. In the second floor courtroom of the Kankakee County Courthouse, things are wrapping up. The circuit court is closing out its September term. It's that mundane, procedural part of the week where people are looking forward to the weekend. But at 9:30 a.m., a juror or clerk pauses. They sniff the air. There's a smell that, in 1872, was one of the most terrifying scents a person could encounter in a wooden-roofed town. Smoke. Just 2 years after Kankakee was established, the city had put up this courthouse in 1855. It cost about $20,000 to build, a massive sum at that time, and it was a point of pride. A two-story structure made of local limestone. But as the people in the courtroom that morning looked up, they realized the building's strength was also its trap. The fire wasn't on the floor, it was above them. Today on This One Time in Kankakee, we'll talk about the fire that tried to burn the memory of a county and the insurance battle that followed. The Kankakee Gazette later reported that for a long time, the fire was actually progressing quite slowly. It was caught in that crawl space between the roof and the upper ceiling. In a modern city, it would be a manageable fire. But in 1872, Kankakee didn't have a fire department. They had willing hearts, but they didn't have a single ladder long enough to reach the roof.
Not even a ladder that would reach the roof was obtainable, and hundreds of men who would have been willing helpers were compelled to be idle spectators.
Idle spectators. Imagine the frustration. You're standing on the lawn, watching the roof of your most important building slowly turn to charcoal, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. So the townspeople did the only thing they could. They ran in. They knew the vaults held the history of every family in the county. Deeds, birth records, court rulings. If those burned, the legal history of Kankakee disappeared. Men began hauling out the massive record books. They dragged the furniture out of the lower rooms. They even moved the household property of the jailer, Sheriff Durfee, who lived right in the building. Because they couldn't save the structure, they saved its soul. piece by piece, book by book, until the heat became too much to bear. When the fire finally burned itself out, the scene was ghostly. The limestone walls, the local stone, remember, were still standing, but they were hollow. The grounds of the courthouse had been a thick grove of trees. The Gazette noted that 50 of those trees were killed or severely damaged by the intense heat. It was a blackened scar in the middle of the city. And as the smoke cleared, the anger set in. People wanted to know, who did this? One name immediately rose to the top of the list: Charles Bowman. Bowman had been a guest of the county jail inside that very building. In fact, he had just been released only the evening before the fire started. It seemed like the classic revenge story. He was arrested on suspicion of arson. He was brought before two local justices, Justice Coughlin and Justice Stiles. An article from the Kankakee Gazette says a long examination before Justices Coughlin and Stiles failed to elicit any proof against him, and he was discharged. With no evidence against Bowman, the cause remained a mystery. Maybe it was a defective chimney. Maybe it was just bad luck. But now Kankakee had a hole where its heart should be. And a very modern problem: insurance. The county had $30,000 in insurance policies on the building. But the insurance companies looked at those standing limestone walls and saw a loophole. They offered a settlement of only $15,000. Basically, they said, "Oh, the whole thing didn't burn. The walls are fine. Take half." The county board didn't blink. They gave the insurers an ultimatum. Either pay the full $30,000 face value of the policies, or you, the insurance companies, rebuild the courthouse yourselves.
The insurance companies opted to rebuild the structure.
It took exactly 1 year. By October 1873, the courthouse was back. Because they used those original limestone walls, the new building was almost an exact replica of the one that had burned. That reconstructed courthouse would stand until 1909, when it was finally replaced by the building we recognize today. We often think of our local institutions as permanent. We walk past the courthouse and assume it's always been there, just like it is. But the story of 1872 shows us a different Kankakee, a town that had no ladders, but had the guts to run into a fire for their history. A town that wouldn't let insurance companies shortchange their future. The records were saved, the walls were kept, and the story continued. This story was researched and written by Jack Klasey and the Kankakee County Museum. We miss you, Jack. Learn more about the museum and read more of Jack's old blog posts at KankakeeCountyMuseum.com. Special thanks to Rob West for adding a little narration to this episode. I'm Jake Lamore. Thanks for joining me for another edition of this One Time in Kankakee from the WVLI Podcast Network. Support for this One Time in Kankakee comes from Lamore Realty, located in downtown Manteno. Amazing real estate brokerage proudly serving Kankakee County and the surrounding areas. Visit LamoreRealty.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Lamore Realty. Listen to all of today's local news in one place.
Checking your WVLI news, I'm Rob West.
The WVLI News Update brings you the day's news in 10 minutes or less. Clear, credible, and on your schedule. Follow now wherever you get your podcasts or at WVLI927.com and click on air. It's all part of the new WVLI Podcast Network. The voices you trust beyond the dial.